My name is Erin. I am the Education Services Manager here at TrainHeroic, and I'm here to help you get your account set up, learn the platform, and how to fuse it with your coaching business. Thank you for joining me today for this is the second chapter of our masterclass series that we're offering. There are 4 chapters. The first one is on more like account architecture. So whether or not you like what teams are and whether or not you need to use teams, if you should use teams. Today, we're going to focus on programming. So all the little tips and tricks and tools to help you build out programming faster. And then the next 2 chapters are on rolling the TrainHeroic platform out to the people that you're coaching, and also leveraging the tools within the platform to keep those people engaged and work on client retention. So I highly recommend you join me for the other webinars. If you missed the first one, you're not going to be behind today. Don't worry. So you can attend them all at any time, really, but I do recommend that you attend them all. You can find this webinar schedule on our website, trainheroic.com, under the webinars tab. But for today, like I said, we are going to focus on programming. So programming for efficiency. So we'll talk about the tools that we offer in the platform that will help you save things to save time and just make that programming process more efficient for you so that you're not spending a bunch of time just building out lengthy like program templates. So we're going to cover all the tools that'll hopefully make those steps go a little bit faster. It will take some reps in the beginning as you're kind of getting used to the platform, but once you kind of got all the tools and tips and tricks down, it should take you a lot less time, hopefully, to build out maybe like a several week long program. So we're going to go ahead and start with basically the absolute basics. So session building 101. So I have my account pulled up here, and we're going to just grab an athlete's calendar. Let's take a look at Ginny's calendar here. And now if I was going to just build one single session out directly onto an athlete calendar, I would obviously access that athlete's calendar by clicking on the calendar icon next to their name. And then whatever day I'm ready to kind of put the session onto their calendar, I'm going to go ahead and hover over that day. And you'll see 2 options. So let's say we'll build something for her on Friday. Your 2 options here are going to be obviously create session and add from library. If I select add from library, this is going to be something that we'll kind of discuss a little bit later. Adding from library is going to be anything that you've already saved and already exists in your library. So it's already done. All you're doing is just grabbing it from the library and plugging it in on her calendar. But let's go ahead and start from scratch and just create a session. So you'll notice this will then bring us to our session builder. So it'll tell you at the top here what day you're on, what the date is. And it will auto default here to put the date in. If you'd like to title the session, you can totally do that. Just edit that there. If maybe you wanted to title what like the focus of the session is or anything like that. And then this section here, the coach instructions, this is something that unfortunately I feel a lot of coaches overlook. And it's a very important place for you to put in any additional information on this session. So it's going to be specific to this day, like maybe, hey, you're starting a new training cycle, or maybe you want to tell them a little bit more about like what the focus of the session is, maybe throw in like a motivational quote. But this is the very first thing that your athlete will see once they've completed the readiness session upon starting their session on their mobile app. So I'd highly recommend leveraging the coach instructions, just putting in some additional information in there for your athlete or your client. Next step is you're going to add a block. So you'll notice if I hit add block, our full library of TrainHeroic movements pops up here, everything with an H there. If there is something in our library that you don't like the video of, or maybe you call it something different, like you use a different name, or maybe it's missing altogether and we just don't have it, you'll select new exercise here. This will pop up this will pop up this menu on the right here for you to create that exercise, and you'll just title it, whatever it is you want to use. You'll drop in a video link, either YouTube or Vimeo, if you have a video that you'd like to use. And then you'll just set your default parameters. And typically that's just going to be reps and weight. Now, these next two options here, they're optional. You don't necessarily need to fill those out once you have the absolute basics here, which is going to be the title and the parameters. This save exercise button here will light up blue, and you'll be able to save this movement to your library. If you are changing, say maybe you didn't like the video we have for our back squat and you wanted to create your own, you will have to use a different name. You won't be able to use the exact name back squat. Maybe it's back squat 2, or maybe it's back squat and like the abbreviation of your business name. But you won't be able to repeat the name of something that's already existing in our library, because it just causes some confusion with pulling your analytics and reports. So just keep that in mind when you're creating new exercises. But to keep things simple, we'll go ahead and grab something that already exists. So we'll go ahead and just get the back squat. And this will automatically just plug you starting with 3 sets. You can easily change the amount of sets by either hitting this drop down here and changing that, or using this plus and minus sign here to add and remove sets. Now, let's say we'll do a 5 by 5. I'm going to go ahead and just hit my reps. It does autofill the whole way down. If I needed to change the reps, like maybe we're going for like a 1 rep max today, so I want to change my rep scheme, I can go ahead and do that. So anything below will auto-populate the rest of the way down. But I can go ahead and switch those all back to 5s just like that. Your last parameter here, obviously it's set to default for back squat as weight in pounds. If you want to change this, if you want to customize your parameters a little bit more, you do have the option to maybe put in percentages, or maybe you are lifting in kilos. You can change that as well. If I hit percentage, what this will do, if I type in a percentage here, so let's say 70%, the system is going to pull from your client or athlete's estimated 1 rep max, or their working max that they have in the system. And it will tell them the weight that they'll need to use to hit 70%. So it'll show like 70% kind of gray on their mobile app, and then next to it, the weight that they need to use. They can use something, the same or similar, but it'll just kind of help them give an idea quickly of what weight they need to use to hit the prescribed percentage, so that they don't need to sit there and calculate it on one of those 1 rep max charts or anything like that. I'm gonna go ahead and just switch this back to pounds and take that out. If I leave this blank like this allows my athlete or my client to just enter in whatever weight that they wanted to use. So if I don't necessarily prescribe anything, they can just put in whatever they want. If I do prescribe something, like say I wanted 135, the athlete could still change this. So say they did this first set at 5 at 135 and they felt good, so they wanted to add weight, they could go ahead and change that, and that would reflect in the system on my end where I could see what the athlete actually completed. So I have an accurate representation of the work that they did in the gym. I'll take that weight out just for now. You'll notice that the tile for the video of the movement of the exercise shows up here. If I wanted to check that out, it will pull me to YouTube here. When your athlete or client is in the mobile app, it will keep them in the app, just so that you know. But if you wanted to check out our videos to see if maybe you wanted to use something else, just clicking on that will open up a new window and bring you to YouTube. And then the exercise instructions box here is a really great place for you to put in any additional explicit instruction on that particular movement for that particular day. So that could be work to rest ratios. Maybe you're doing tempos. Maybe you do want to put in any additional technique or cueing things, or even maybe you're working in a rep range. So you won't be able to enter in a range of reps on this parameter here, but you could maybe put in the lower end of the range, and then maybe, put in the ranges like 5 to 7 reps or something, and put that instruction there. These will show up directly under the movement that on the mobile app that your athlete will be viewing. So keep in mind that if you need to provide that additional instruction on whatever movement it is, definitely leverage those exercise instructions there. So let's go ahead and add another block, and let's do some pull-ups. And you'll notice here that my last parameter is grayed out on these pull-ups. And that's because this is a body weight movement. So it's defaulting to not tracking a weight. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's say we'll do 10 reps. Now say I am going to prescribe weight, like maybe my athletes are gonna use a weight belt to add on an additional load to this, or maybe they have a weight vest. I can go ahead and change this and move it to weight, and that will allow them to go ahead and enter in the weight that they used, or I can prescribe like, hey, I want you to add 10 pounds to your pull-ups. Now, you'll notice that when I've added my second movement here, that this chain link appears between block A and block B. This allows me to superset the two movements together. So I can go ahead and select that chain link. And now you'll notice that my back squats are now A1 and my pull-ups are now A2 instead of B. So this will show to your client or your athlete on their mobile app that these movements need to be performed back to back. If you have a superset that you'd like to put in some instruction on, additional instruction to make sure they're completing it in the right way, or maybe you want to add in some notes on rest, you can go ahead and click those three dots in the top right corner, add superset instructions, and go ahead and write that in right there. So let's go ahead and add one more thing here. And instead of an exercise, I'm actually going to grab a circuit this time. So circuits are like a text box function for a list of movements. So this is really good for maybe a more like CrossFit style workout, or maybe a warm up or a cool down or a mobility routine, anything that you really only need one data point tracked, and it's maybe like a list of movements. So let's go ahead and say a dynamic warm up. And oops, I would like 3 rounds of this, this, and this. And if I leave this here for completion because it's a warm up and I don't need them to do it as fast as they can or anything like that, this is just gonna show the athlete or client that they just need to check it off, that they got it done. Now, say if it was like a CrossFit style AMRAP or rounds for time or anything like that, I can go ahead and change this and move that down to, maybe it's reps. But we'll go ahead and leave it for completion. And now because these circuits are very customizable, you'll notice they won't auto-populate with a video. If I do want to attach videos to this, like it is a dynamic warm-up routine that has multiple movements in it that I'm not sure if my athlete or client remembers what all of those are, I can go ahead and select add video here. And maybe I've got like inchworms and air squats and something like that. Just keep in mind that these videos, any videos that I want to attach, they do have to exist as an exercise in the library. Like you won't be able to just search a video from YouTube directly and put it into here. So you'll have to create it as an exercise first, and then you'll be able to search it to attach it to this circuit. If this is a circuit I'm going to repeat frequently, like maybe this is my warm up that I always do on back squat days or anything like that, I can go ahead and save this circuit to the library, and it will save all of my text, and it'll save the videos that I've attached to the circuit. So then now if I want to use this specific warm up again in the future, I can go ahead and just search it just like these movements that I did up here, and it'll be already put together for me, and I don't have to retype everything out. Then the last little thing I want to show you in here is this arrow. So we're probably not going to warm up after our back squats and our pull-ups. So I'm going to select this arrow here, and you'll notice that it's moved my dynamic warm up to block A up above my supersetted back squats and pull-ups. So if you happen to program out of order, or you want to switch the order of any of the movements that you have built in your session, you can just use these arrows to move the movements up and down. When you're ready from here, you'll just publish that session, and that will make it available to the client or athlete. Since Ginny probably doesn't want to do this back squat pull-up combo. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this off of her calendar. And that's session building 101. So let's move on. A lot of these things we've already kind of touched on here on our session building 101. So the tools within the platform work together to enhance the client experience and also make things reusable for you as the coach to save you time and make you be more efficient. So a lot of the things that we already kind of touched on, I'll touch on again quickly here, but circuits versus exercises. So when to use circuits, a circuit versus an exercise. So like I mentioned, if you're only looking for one data point tracked or just for completion, a circuit is probably your way to go. If you're looking to track more volume, like you want reps and weight, then your exercise is going to be your better option there. The exercise notes, like I mentioned, great way for you to put in additional explicit instruction on that movement for that particular day. That will help make sure things are clear and that you're communicating well with that athlete. Custom exercises, like I said, you can create anything that maybe isn't existing in our library, or you use a different name, or you want to use a different video. A lot of our coaches will spend time building out their own exercise library where they have they video them themselves with maybe like a shirt of their from their business with like their logo on it, to just create some branding and some familiarity. And so then you have your own exercise library built out, so that your clients and your athletes will recognize that. And then on the reusability side, you can save sessions that you've built. So any single sessions, if it's maybe, you recommend this typically for like, if it's like a benchmark workout or maybe like a fitness testing battery, something that you're gonna use again, or something very similar again, instead of you having to build it out from scratch, save it to your library, and then you can just grab it in the future and plug it on the calendar when you're ready. Same with the circuits. Like I mentioned, if it's a warm up or something that you're using frequently, or it's a routine mobility routine you really like, save that to your library. Once you have it typed out and you won't have to type it again, you can just grab it and plug it in and use it again. And then finally, any supersets that maybe you use frequently. If I program back squats and pull-ups together all the time, I can go ahead and save that superset to my library as well. And then I can just plug it in instead of having to, build it from scratch again. So both of these go, all of these go hand in hand to really kind of be your power tools within the platform. So kind of diving in again, I already mentioned all of this. This goes in a little bit deeper if you wanted to read more, but the client experience side, so it's going to be your circuits versus your exercises, creating custom exercises, and your exercise notes. You'll notice that these two guys anyways are linked out. They are linked to support articles that we have that kind of dive in a little bit deeper on these two topics. I am sending these slides out after this webinar, so you will be able to access this if you want to read in a little bit further on the support articles that we have available. And then again, with reusability, bulk copy and paste we haven't touched on yet. I will get to that in a second. But then saving circuits, saving single sessions, and saving your supersets. Again, these are linked out to support articles that are super helpful if you want to read in a little more in depth how to use these functions. But let's talk on bulk copy and paste real quick. So this is a really key function that will allow you to build out a multiple week program very quickly. So let's go ahead and jump back to my account here, and we're going to jump into my library. And we'll go ahead and start from scratch. So say I'm going to build out a multiple week program. I'm here in my library. I'm going to hit create program, which is this blue button in the top right corner. And let's say we're doing like a weightlifting program. And I want it to be 4 weeks long. I'm going to go ahead and create this program. You'll notice here that this calendar looks different than Ginny's calendar that we were on earlier. It's not tied to any dates. So what this does is it's a blank canvas for you. It's a blank template for you to build out a program on. And it's not tied to any specific dates, but keep in mind that your day one is going to be whatever day one is for you. So if you're programming like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday program, then be sure that day one, you actually plug this in on a Monday. So let's go ahead and just quickly build out the same or similar session to what we just did. Cool. And I won't put in any of the details just yet. So now let's say I've built out this session, and I'm going to go ahead just for the sake of having a week completed. I'm going to right click and copy this session. I'm going to go ahead and paste it on these days here. So here's my Monday, Wednesday, Friday program, my day 1, day 3, and day 5. Pretend these days are different. Now, if I'm pretty confident that these 3 days are going to stay pretty much the same for the next following 3 weeks, but maybe I'm just jumping in and editing like my prescription, or maybe I'm swapping out accessory movements or changing like my conditioning. The fastest, easiest way for you to repeat all of this instead of building each session out from scratch is to do that bulk copy and paste. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click outside of this last session here, hold down and drag. And now this highlights multiple sessions at once. So you'll notice that this menu will tell me how many I've grabbed in case I'm highlighting more than 3. I've got 3 sessions here. I'm going to go ahead and hit copy, and then I'll come down to week 2, right click and paste, right click and paste and paste. So now I've, in like what, 10 seconds, quickly built out 4 weeks of programming. And now all I need to do is I can just jump in. I can change my prescription to, whatever it is, and add in that progression from week to week. And maybe even just swapping out like, your conditioning, or maybe I'm swapping out any accessory movements or core movements, anything like that. But bulk copy and paste is a super great tool for you to very quickly build out programming. That's like a multiple week program. You can also use that bulk selection feature to delete sessions if you need to. So say maybe I decided I hated this program, or maybe I wanted the final 2 weeks to be different. I'm going to go ahead and do the same, left click, drag, highlight, and I've selected 6 sessions here. I'm going to go ahead and just delete those guys off. And now I can change my final 2 weeks if I want. Or if maybe I'd accidentally put this 4-week program on an athlete calendar and I decided actually we weren't going to do it, that's the same thing. You can just quickly drag, highlight, and delete them off.